Hey, what's going on out there in IE Network land? And you know what time it is? It's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on a Tuesday night. We're coming to you live here from the IE Network studios. It is I, your host, the man himself, James Acevedo, and welcome to the Benchwarmers podcast, exclusively here on the IE Network. We have a jam-packed show, of course, and of course, my co-host, Heaven Hollywood, will be joining us very shortly. As you can see, I'm representing my producer's shirt, Wes Clark. Yes, as you can see right here. Yes, Real Talk. Let me see if we can. There you go, Real Talk with the director. And let's see, Jedi Council. If you can see Jedi Council. Yes, I'm representing. I was supposed to do that last week, but then I forgot to bring a t-shirt. Forgot the word. But hey, better late than never. So yeah, so we're gonna be with you for another hour and a half or so, as we usually do here on a Tuesday night on the IE Network here on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, and comment on this show, and of course all the other shows we have here on this wonderful channel of ours. If you are interested, you can send donations to the IE Network right here on the super chat down here. And if you want to send a direct donation to me on Cash App, it's Jimmy Ace Cash, as in Johnny Cash. Jimmy Ace Cash is my Cash App name, Jimmy Ace Cash, JIMMYACECASH, if you are kind enough to send a little donation to moi. And of course, donate to the network, of course, here on the IE Network. If I knew Heaven's and Wes's Cash Apps, I would say it right here, but I have no idea, and I don't want to give the wrong information. So if it comes on here, he can say it. I just have to write it down. Okay, do not forget. Okay, here we go. So here's where I start my monologue on this week. Well, you know, MLB. You know, as far as with MLB, you know, my Yankees, they took 2 out of 3 against the Orioles back in the Bronx. So they lost the last game of the third game of the series, and so-called extra innings. You know, with the runner on second. Which, by the way, it doesn't bother me with that. To be honest, I thought when that rule first came out last year, that was going to bother me, having the runner start at the top of the 10th inning. You know, for the the visiting team. It doesn't really bother me, as long as my thing is, as long as they don't start in the playoffs, then it's fine with me. Because I look at it this way: it saves your bullpen and the long marathon that you're gonna have in the season with your pitching staff. So that doesn't bother me. Unlike some people are like, oh, it's a blasphemy. It's like, let's relax, okay? Again, I love baseball so much. It's my #1 sport. Can we please get off the holier than thou soapbox, please? Just a little bit. I'm just saying. But anyway, the Yankees took 2 out of 3 against the Orioles, and then they went to they didn't actually go to Toronto because of the pandemic. They can't cross the Canadian border, and that's why the Blue Jays can't play at home in Toronto. So they've been playing their home games so far this year in Florida. I forgot what part of Florida, but it's some town I never heard of in Florida in my life. But that's why they're playing their home games. It's like some minor league park, just like they played in Buffalo during last year's shortened season. They're going to be there for now until later on in the season when it gets warmer in Buffalo. Then they move up to Buffalo, or until if they ever open the borders to go back and play in the Sky Dome like they rightfully should be. Actually, I'm talking about they're playing the Blue Jays right now. That's why I got thrown off. Sorry. They're playing the Blue Jays right now. They won the first game yesterday. Right now, they just started like about an hour and a half or so ago. Last time I checked, it was no score. But before this series, it was Tampa Bay they went to and faced the Rays, and they lost 2 out of 3. For some reason, they couldn't get out of their own way against the Rays. But thankfully, thanks for that new extra inning rule, they were able to win that, at least salvage the last game of the series and win that game. I mean, right now, the last check, they're around a 500 team. I think if I last checked, I think they're 500. They're like 5-5 or something like that. So it's still early in baseball. Whatever. And as far as the Mets, I know they won the first game of doubleheader, which, by the way, the reason why they have a doubleheader is because what was it, Sunday afternoon? They were supposed to pitch. They were supposed to play in that game, and they played in the rain. And 7 pitches later, Stroman was told to get off the mound, and the game was suspended. It was like, They had weather reports saying they weren't. It's going to be raining most of the day, and yet they started the game. Yeah. Same old Mets for the most part, but at least the Mets won in this first game of the doubleheader, the shortened doubleheader. If anybody doesn't know, they play 7-inning doubleheaders now ever since last year. Which again, that doesn't bother me either because, you know, it's short. It makes a shortened day of a long day, of an even longer day, and it helps your pitching staff and it helps your everyday players too. You know, so I forgot what they did during the weekend and stuff like that, but they weren't. I know they didn't play well against. I think they played the Marlins. They didn't really do too well. And, oh, by the way, what was it? Sunday afternoon, me and my brother got into talking about this. Anybody doesn't know my brother Danny, you know, he hasn't been on the show in a very long time. It's been like at least 7, 8 years. But you know about my brother. He works at MLB Network, MLB.com. And DeGrom pitched a stellar of a game. I mean, superb. 14 strikeouts, I think, in 8 innings, and still lost. Gave up no runs, and the Mets don't score runs, and they lost. And DeGrom again wastes another great pitcher performance. And once again, just like I talked about 2 weeks ago, when is enough going to be enough for Jacob DeGrom? When is it going to be enough? When? And I know he's a team guy for what I heard, and he's not going to throw any teammates underneath the bus. But I'm just saying, I don't care who you are. Everyone has a line that you don't cross. You know what I mean? Everyone has a breaking point. So after a while, you're like, you know what? Maybe after this option year I have coming up after next year, maybe it's time for me to go somewhere else. You know, I'm just saying. I mean, I was surprised he signed an extension in the first place when he did a couple of years ago. But I mean, he just wasted before. And don't get me wrong. With Garrett Cole, you know, he's been pitching lights out too. And thankfully, the Yankees scored just enough runs to win, barely. But they, you know, 2 or 3 runs here and there. At least they win. But even with Garrett Cole, the Yankees have issues scoring runs. It's just very frustrating, whether you're a Yankees fan or Met fan, that they have one thing in common with both of these teams. When it's runners in scoring position, it's like they can't do it. It's like they get nervous or something. I don't know what the heck. Even with a runner starting on second, with the extra inning rule that started last year, they still, even with a runner starting on second base, they can't manufacture a run. It's ridiculous. Like I said, you know, common sense in baseball fundamentals is like out the window. But it's just ridiculous. But before I even go on, I should have actually started off the show by saying my condolences and my thoughts and prayers to DMX's family. Anybody doesn't know, DMX passed away this past weekend after going through a major heart attack and going through who knows what other things he was going through. But I should have started the show off the show with my my thoughts on DMX passing away. Definitely one of the big contributors in the hip hop community. I remember first hearing him. The first time I remember first hearing him was 1997. That's when I first heard of him. And I thought, you know, he reminded me of someone who was influenced by Pac as far as the way his style is. But he definitely had his own MO, his own style on the mic. And, you know, he was definitely a major player. I mean, you know, who would have thought that he really did talk that way? You know, hey, how you doing? Hey, get at me. You know, he talks like that. He really does. That wasn't no, you know, front or just a character. He really did talk like that. You know, if anybody hasn't seen Cat Williams' old stand-up, he talked about that when he talked about when he met Cat Williams. He said, "I can't believe this dude actually talking like that." Classic. But Heaven, actually, my co-host has talked to him. Like he had he was very fortunate to talk to him. The pleasure of talking to him one time, trying to do a business deal with him, doing a movie for him, and he said on his lives, and he'll talk about it right here when he gets on, how what a down-to-earth guy he really was. He just had a lot of demons, and unfortunately, you know, the demons will get you if you can't fight them. And unfortunately, you know, he was one of those guys. I mean, there are other deep things that are more to this than meets the eye, but I will not go on with that on here. That's for another show. But yeah, so my thoughts and prayers to DMX. He will definitely be missed, and his music will definitely live on forever, just like all the greats of the past who I grew up with and beyond. Definitely his music would transcend generations. So getting back to what I was saying, with MLB, it's a long season. It's going to take a long time. Don't get all people were already ready to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge when the team really ain't playing well. And of course, I ain't gonna lie, it is frustrating to see your team cannot score runs, whether you're a Mets fan or Yankees fan. But you gotta remember, it's a long season. And by the way, since we're on this topic, the other night, Aaron Judge sat out a game because he had soreness, and it wasn't specified from Aaron Boone for what I heard or read, from the manager of the Yankees, Aaron Boone. Soreness or what? What? Well, he had a little headache? What? Soreness where? In his head? Where? I don't understand. In his leg? Where? It's like, I mean, he's played now the last few games, but it's like, soreness where? I mean, it's like, and you wonder why baseball gets looked at, differently. Like, you see hockey players and football, especially with hockey players and football players, they play through injuries. I remember Lawrence Taylor. I mean, I know it's a different sport. He played with broken ribs. I see hockey players with broken jaws, still jaws hanging, playing the game. I got in baseball. I got ingrown fingernail. Let me sit out for like 2 to 4 games. It's like, you wonder why. And see, well, Aaron Judge has come back. The last few games, he only sat out for like a game or 2, but still, it's like, what's next? He's gonna have, he's gonna have a scratching issue or something, and I have a rash on my body. Okay, I'm gonna sit out the game. I got ingrown hairs. I can't shave them off, so I'm gonna sit out for like a week. I mean, come on. You wonder why baseball gets looked at differently. It's the greatest sport ever, in my opinion. But unless you around my age or grew up with the sport, you ain't following baseball. And even I don't follow every pitch like I used to. I do the best I can. There's times I forget there was a game. That happened to me the other day. I forgot. I was, oh yeah, there's a baseball game on. Yeah, that's right. Let me see. I forgot. Oh, the Yankees won. Okay. Where before I'd be like the life or death after every pitch. And now it's like, oh yeah, okay. I mean, a lot of it has to do with being older and having a busier life, more responsibilities. But even if that wasn't really the case, I would still be like, oh yeah, the game is on. See, once again, Robert Manfred doesn't know how to promote the game good enough, unlike the NFL. In spite of Roger Goodell, because Roger Goodell is definitely the worst commissioner in sports. I don't care what anybody tells me. He's an idiot. But anyway, for a lot of reasons, if you follow my show for all these years, you know why. Reiterate that maybe another time. But yeah, so it's still early. We got a long way to go. It's still another 154 games, whatever it is left. 153 or 152 games left. So it's still a long way to go before we can get crazy. Let's relax. But here's the thing that I find interesting that caught my eye. Actually, I think it was yesterday. That's why I always like to try to find things, because sometimes it's not until the last minute you find something juicy to talk about when it comes to sports news. Because we're not just about talking about X and O's. It's also about news as far as maybe off the field or whatever. In this case, it's on and off the court when it comes to Kevin Durant, which, by the way, he finally returned to the Nets after sitting out since last year, it seemed like. And he had a interview. He was interviewed by Rachel Nichols from ESPN. This aired actually on Saturday. I didn't see the interview, but I read the quotes and learned about it. And Kevin Durant actually said, and I'm reading this, so it's not like I made this up. Kevin Durant is no longer driven by winning championships. He is now driven by development. Yeah, I'm gonna say it again. Kevin Durant is no longer driven by winning NBA titles. He's driven by player development. Gee, I find that hard to believe. And I wonder why. Why do I find that hard to believe? Now, in all due fairness, I do not like Kevin Durant, but this is not clouding my vision and my thoughts. I'm being totally fair and honest. So that's not the reason why I'm thinking that way, that why I don't believe him. And you know, it's not because he's the biggest jerk in the NBA. To me, in my opinion, he's very passive aggressive, probably the most passive aggressive NBA player in history I've ever seen in my life. Even LeBron James goes, man, you know, man up already. You know? But if it's that's so true, Kevin Durant. Now, mind you, he was saying, you know, he's won 2 titles, but you know, I don't know if he was saying this if he didn't win these 2 titles with the Golden State Warriors. But how are you not still driven to win more titles? And I call bullcrap on that, because if it ain't about winning titles and you're not driven by winning titles, then why did you go to the Nets, bring your homeboy over, you know, Kylie Irving, your homeboy, you know, or whatever he is to you, who knows what you two do. You bring him over and influence having the head coach, Stephen Nash, being the head coach, which, let's be honest, Stephen Nash is not the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. It's Kevin Durant's running this team. It's not Steve Nash. Steve Nash is just a figurehead. He's just a puppet to Kevin Durant. And then you bring Blake Griffin, and you bring all these, you know, you make sure James Harden comes on the team while you are recovering from your injuries. You notice I like to do that a lot with quotes. Recovering, like a bug, recovering from injuries. And if it was so important about player development, why didn't you go to a team that had up and coming players, not a fantasy draft, team that you went to with the Brooklyn Nets that you created? And let's be honest, you went to Brooklyn because you got mad at Draymond Green with the Golden State Warriors, which, by the way, I found out there was more to it, something more to it of why he was pissed off with Draymond Green or whatever. It had something to do with him, Kevin Durant wanting the ball and Draymond Green didn't want to do it or whatever the heck it was. I'll get into it when heaven comes on. But if it wasn't about winning more titles or about your legacy, here I go again, your legacy, then why did you create this super team? And you did create this super team. Now, like I said, I didn't see this whole Rachel Nichols to call, but I guarantee you it was a fluff piece, because ESPN, all they do is they kiss the players' butts, and they oh, you're the greatest, you're the best. They do that with everybody so they can work for them on ESPN. So only place that does that when it comes to trying to kiss up to these players. Like they barely ever. The only one that ever challenges these players is Stephen A. Smith, as far as I know. He's one of the really only ones that keeps it real. Max, don't know basketball from baseball, only boxing, he has no idea what he's talking about sometimes for the most part. But yeah, I mean, Durant to say that, I'm about player development, then why'd you go to the Knicks? You could have had player development with the Knicks. And trust me when I tell you, I didn't want him to come to the Knicks. And it's deeper than what everyone thinks. He is not his character, the way he carries himself. I don't like the way he brings like a dark cloud to the locker room to me. And if he and Kylie Irving, when it came to the Knicks, forget about it, would have been a madhouse. Trust me, it would have been ridiculous. And let's not forget, James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kylie Irving haven't still played with each other yet. So everyone's already giving them kissing the ring on their finger already, like they won a title, which they haven't yet. Let's not forget, there's still another team in the NBA, the defending champions, the Lakers. And trust me, I don't love LeBron James. I made that loud and clear for the longest time on my show. And even Heaven, my co-host, will tell you. But I'm fair and honest. You know that you can't beat LeBron unless you have an all-star squad and you have more than 3 guys. Let's keep it real, okay? Because LeBron, especially when LeBron's driven, he could take a team on his back and take him to at least the NBA finals. Can you do that, Durant? Excuse me? Hello? Yeah, that's right. You were Oklahoma City, correct? Yeah, and you had James Harden on that team too. And you had homeboy that's now with the Washington Wizards. I can't believe I forgot his name. But hey, you had a team that everyone thought was going to be a team to be reckoned with in Oklahoma City. And you couldn't wait to get out of there, especially choking a 3-1 lead to the Warriors, and you go to that same team the next year, basically trying to piggyback on a championship. Not that he's not talented enough to win one, but he needed Steph Curry and all those guys to practically guarantee that not one but two titles, and he would have had a third if he didn't get hurt. Let's be honest, he would have got another one had he not tore his Achilles. And the Raptors basically gift wrapped themselves a NBA title. Not that I'm taking anything away from them, but it did help that Kevin Durant was hurt, and basically most of that squad was hurt besides Kevin Durant. If I remember correctly, Steph Curry was hurt, and Chris Thompson. I think the Splash Brothers were both hurt. So it was like basically a practice squad team facing the Raptors in the finals. So the Raptors just was gift wrapped a championship title. So I don't buy. Let me read these quotes. Yeah. I'm gonna read these quotes until Hammond comes on here. Here's one of the quotes that he said on this interview, Kevin Durant, about I'm for player development. It's not about titles with me no more. Give me a break. Yeah, that's why you're on a super squad. Quote from Kevin Durant: I wasn't expecting to be a happy human being from a title. I was just expecting the ending of a movie. Once you work so hard and everybody tells you yo, this is what you need to be working for. Is this gold ball and these rings? And I'm just like, all right, cool. Let me lock in on that. And I locked in on wanting to achieve that, but I also realized it's a lot of stuff that factors in that's out of my control. And it goes on. And once I won a championship with Golden State, I realized that my view on this game is really about development. How good can I be? It's not about, let's go get this championship like he is with the Nets, by the way. I appreciate that stuff, and I want to win to experience that stuff, but it's not the end all be all of why I play the game. Oh, really? Can you imagine if the great Michael Jordan ever said anything like this? Would he be the GOAT if he ever said anything close to this? No, he wouldn't be. But the thing is, it's one thing if Kevin Durant actually meant it, and I would still look at him crazy, but he doesn't mean it. He's full of crap. Because again, if it was about player development, then why did you stay on Golden State? Oh, that's right, because you had a beef with Draymond Green. That's why. That's why you had an issue with him, and that's why you basically called. That's why you basically like, look, get me out of here, and basically you got yourself out, and you sat out for the year, with the Nets, just taking money from the Brooklyn Nets, which I don't care, and then you're gonna take your time, like I said last week to Heaven, you're gonna take your time to make sure you're all there, and then that way, when you're fully 100%, then you be ready for LeBron in the playoffs, which the playoffs don't start not too far from now. I don't know when exactly they start, but usually it's around this month. Well, when things were normal, it's usually around this month. Usually by now, the season's about to be over by the end of April. Or usually by the middle of April or early April. But now he played today, and he stayed in. Now, mind you, if it's all about player development, why are you in the game for blowing out a team over 40-plus points and you're still playing the game? Now, one could look at it as because you're trying to get in game shape, because being in game shape and practicing, before a game are two different things, obviously. When you're training and, and you're trying to practice, before a game or, before a game starts, like in a couple of days or whatever, it's different to be in game shape when you're actually playing the game. So I don't understand that, to be still, trying to get yourself used to the long grind of playing a lot of minutes. But let's stop it. Let's stop. Oh, about player development. Then you're about player development. Then why are you on the Nets with your boyfriend Kyrie Irving, and then your other boy James Harden? And why you have all these other guys on this all-star squad on your team, your first and second string guys? Come on, man. It's all about being LeBron. That's what it is, and it's about your legacy. Let's stop it. Let's not act like it's not about it. Because if it wasn't about your legacy, you would have not left Golden State. Because people were in your ear, and you heard the whispers and the loud, well, it wasn't whispers for me. I was saying it out loud, from the fans that said, well, you won those 2 titles because you were on a great team like Golden State. And you weren't really the man on that team. It was really Steph Curry. It was really Steph Curry's team. Steph Curry allowed you to be on that team. Because Steph Curry could have said, no, I don't want you on the Golden State Warriors. You know, you're going to stay on Oklahoma City or wherever you go, somewhere else, go to the Spurs or whatever. I'm staying, you know, I'm staying right here. But Steph Curry, you know, he saw the bigger picture because let's be honest, Steph Curry even knew that even though they won that first title against LeBron, they choked that other title to LeBron being up 3-1. So once that happened, gee, what a coincidence. He got Kevin Durant on his team. And he was like, look, you know, whatever, you know, it's my team, but it's your team too, type of thing. Kind of like a Dwayne Wade, LeBron James type of deal almost in Miami Heat, you know, back a few years back, you know, but, you know it bothered Kevin Durant. If it didn't bother Kevin Durant, that, oh, you can't win unless you're the guy, you're the man on the franchise. And that's why he left. And he didn't like, you know, all these other chefs in the kitchen on his team basically coming down on him. Because let's be honest, there's times that Kevin Durant can be soft. And he can be. He's a very sensitive type of guy. Who knows? You got to go day by day with him, how he's going to be. You got to treat him with kid gloves on, you know. Like, it's okay, Kevin Durant. Are you going to be good today? You know, it's like ridiculous. That's why I didn't want him on my Knicks. I said it. I've said it for the last couple of years. I didn't want him. I didn't want him. I just knew, especially being on Dolan's owning the team on top of that. I mean, the Knicks this year have done spectacular with Thibodeau being the head coach. He's definitely should be, if not, he should be definitely one of the top candidates to be coach of the year. I mean, in my opinion, he should be. I mean, they're a 500 team right now. They're the 8th seed, if I'm not mistaken. They have a chance for one of those playoff you know, playing games, whatever that new thing they did since last year. But I know they're not going to go far. I'm not one of these idiots that think, oh, no, the Knicks are going to go all the way or go deep in the playoffs. Oh, please. You know, I would love so much. Oh, what I would love. You know, I would love so much if the Knicks stay as the 8th seed. Right now, the Nets, I think, are the 2 seed. Can you imagine if the Nets become the number 1 seed? I think the Sixers are the 1st seed, if I'm not mistaken. And let's say the Nets are the 1st seed and Knicks are the 8th seed, and the Knicks face the Nets and the Knicks beat them in the 1st round. I would love it. Oh, because I never liked the Nets. The Nets were always trying to want to be the Knicks. They always wanted to try to own the town. Even when they were in New Jersey, they tried to do that. And originally, they were from New York. They used to play on Long Island, the Nassau Coliseum, way back in the day when Dr. J was playing. And then they sold Dr. J's rights to the Sixers, and the curse was on from then on up. And let's be honest, no one cared about the Nets. Barely. What you have, like maybe 5 people in New York City that cares about the. Okay, you got 5 people in Brooklyn probably care about the Nets. But let's be honest, no one cares. And how sad is that the Nets are probably, if not one of the best teams in the NBA, and nobody cares. I tell you right now, I listen to sports talk radio in New York, and nobody barely talks about the Nets. The only, you know, barely anybody. Maybe ESPN in New York radio, maybe. Michael K show, maybe. Barely, though. But the only reason he brings it up because they're on the Yes Network, and Michael K works for the Yes Network. But other than that, who cares? And I love Brooklyn. I was born in Brooklyn. Born in Brooklyn, raised throughout practically almost the 5 boroughs, except for Staten Island, of course, because that's a forgotten borough. No, shout out to my people in Staten Island. Shaolin. But, yeah, I mean, no one cares about the Nets. That's why they moved to Brooklyn, trying to make themselves stand out more. Oh, they're the Brooklyn Nets. They sold that more where they played at than their own team, because their own team stunk for all these years. And now finally, you know, with the team that they bought, which, by the way, buying a championship doesn't make sense to me, because you still got to go out there and win. You could get all the good pieces you want, buy all the talent you want. You still got to go out there and win. So all this thing about buying a championship and all this, like Dr. J was talking about, oh, you know, the Nets are buying a championship, just like the Yankees buy a championship. That didn't bother me, because I said, well, it's funny. Don't you need money and player development to win? Hello? While paying players, you're not going to win, dummy. That's just Dr. J being, you know, Dr. J has always been he's always been like what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. He's just been bitter. That's the word I'm looking for. He's been bitter for like the longest time. He's always been judged of Michael Jordan, because he always heard the rumbles. Oh, Michael Jordan's the GOAT, and he thinks he's the GOAT, and he thinks if it wasn't for him, you know, Michael Jordan wouldn't exist. But Michael Jordan is always always said in videos that he learned some of his game from Dr. J. You know, he never said he didn't. He always gave praise to Dr. J. You know, Julius Erving. He always did. It's not like he negated Dr. J and said, "Oh, I don't care about Dr. J. It's all about me." He never did that. Matter of fact, I remember one news conference one time with Michael Jordan towards the end of his career, and then like someone asked him, "Do you feel you're the GOAT?" And he was like, "No, I don't feel I'm the GOAT." Whether he meant that or not, but publicly he was saying, "No, there was other players before me that were that I consider the GOAT." I think he said about Bill Russell. He talked about Dr. J and stuff like that. So Dr. J is just a real sensitive, bitter man, and I don't know why. You won a title, and by the way, you weren't drafted by the Sixers, and Moses Malone wasn't drafted by the Sixers. Malone came from somewhere else. You went on their team, got a few players together, and won a title. It was done differently then, just trades and whatever, but still, that helped your team win, and you finally beat the Lakers after always losing to them in the finals. That was, I think, back in '83, if I'm not mistaken. Heaven remembers about that. He comes on. But, I hate these people when they're like, "Oh, you won a championship." Listen, there's been proof in the past. You can get all these big-time players and don't win nothing. Remember the Mets in '03? They got Roberto Alomar and all these other guys. And everyone's saying, "Oh, they're buying away a championship." Nothing happened. They didn't come close to even sniffing the playoffs. So it doesn't guarantee just because you get big-time players that you're going to win. Injuries are, that could come into play. Other things, where egos in the locker room could affect the team chemistry. So, it's not guaranteed. If it was an automatic guarantee, don't you think most of these franchises would shut out some bucks? Look at the Tampa Bay Rays. They have what, a $50-something million payroll. They find a way to be competitive. They might not be in the World Series every year, but they stay competitive. How about that? There's certain teams that don't spend, over $100+ million or whatever, and be competitive. They might not win a title, but they stay competitive. And especially in baseball, baseball is never the best team. Really, most of the time, the best team doesn't win anyway. It's not like in basketball where it's practically predictable. Because I'm going to tell you right now, it will be the Nets and the Lakers, barring something weird, because it's very rare that upsets happen. That's why back in the day, remember back in the day when it used to be the best of 5, that used to be the dangerous round in the first round. I remember one year, and Heaven could bring this up if he ever comes on. The Lakers were upset by the Houston Rockets one year. I mean, it was a big time upset, and that was the year, I think that was in '86, matter of fact, and that's when the Celtics beat the Rockets in the finals. I think that was in 1986, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely the '86 Celtics are known to be one of the greatest NBA teams of all time. The '86 Celtics, Larry Bird and his crew. But yeah, but there were times. Look at the Denver Nuggets that one year back in '94. They were the 8th seed and they beat the Supersonics. The Seattle Supersonics. They got like 60+ wins. I think they had 60 wins or whatever. I think they were 60-22 or something like that. And they lost in 5 games. The Nuggets won in Seattle, mind you. Now, I don't count this in 99 2000 season because it was a lockout season, but the Knicks were the 8th seed, and they beat the Heat, the number 1 seed. And they were the first team, they were the first number 8 seed team to make the finals. But the only reason why that happened was because it was a shortened season, and, it wasn't, it was only, I forgot only how many games that year. I think it was only like 50 games or something like that. Maybe less than it was the MLB season last year. But, that's the only reason why. But my point is they were upsets every now and then in the NBA playoffs. Since they moved it to the best of 7 in the early 2000s during the Kobe Shaq era, it's almost guaranteed. Practically, it is guaranteed that the number 1 seed is going to win and go deep in the playoffs, at least into the conference finals. That's what's wrong with the NBA. It's too predictable and it's too political. Those are the 2 things that ruin the sport. Too political, too predictable. NFL at least has some surprises maybe every now and then. Like the Giants winning a couple of championships the last, 14 years, 2000 last 14 years, and they went on a big run. I forgot what some other team went on a big run. I remember the Patriots' first title no one expected them to beat the Rams back in, you know, the 2002 Super Bowl. So yeah, that happens every now and then, but NBA never happens. There's no miracles. That's why I remember they brought up about maybe doing like a NCAA tournament, like a March Madness, and do something like that, and just have the best teams, regardless of what conference, face each other. Well, you know, make it interesting and bring in, you know, make it a one and done. Oh, maybe not like a one and done like the March Madness tournament, but at least, you know, mix it up a little bit. Not, don't, you know, get rid of the Western and Eastern Conference and just have whoever's the best, you know, best 8 or best 16, the best 16 from both sides face each other. And it could be in the first round, the East team face the West team. Something to make it more interesting. Now, I guarantee you, I don't want to speak for Heaven. He probably wouldn't want to like that, but it would make it interesting. It would make me want to, you know, watch more. Now, it helps to know that my team is, I mean, they're competitive this year, the Knicks for the first time in forever. It helps if your team is one of those great teams, then it helps you to really want to watch the NBA. But even if my team was like the Nets or even like the Lakers, the game itself is just not the same as it once was. The fundamentals are out the window. Everyone thinks they can shoot from 3-point lane. There's no give and go. There's no low post. There's no you know, battling in the paint anymore. There's no more big man presence. It's no true shooting guards for it's not the same game anymore. Everything is play zone, no man to man, and it's just a free fall. It's almost like watching NBA Jam, except not as exciting. I'd rather watch a game in Rucker. I'd rather watch street ball than watch the NBA. At least, you know, it's a more manlier game. This game, you know, you could look at somebody the wrong way, especially if it's a big time player like LeBron James or Kevin Durant, especially LeBron James. Look at him wrong, it's a foul. Not even a foul, it'd be a technical foul, it'd be thrown out the game. You know, it's just not the same no more. It's not, you know, and I blame the way management is with the NBA, and I blame how these players are trained. And all the players are going to do is just going to carry on that crappy way of thinking about the fundamentals of the game and going from there. So it's just that. So the NBA to me needs a shining on. By the way, so far in his first active season with the Nets, going back to the wonderful Kevin Durant, he's averaging 28.4 points, 7.3 rebounds, and 5.3 assists in his first active season since his 2019-2020 season with the Warriors. So anyway, oh, by the way, more quotes from the wonderful and caring Kevin Durant, who's about player development. I've been around, this is actual quotes, by the way. I've been out of the game for 2 years and having anxiety about, like, what am I doing when I get back? Being out with an Achilles has you thinking about the game differently. And my goal is to be out there, you know. Who knows what's going to happen when I'm out there? I just want to be available. And I think that's all I really want out of this. To be available for as long as I can. And we'll see what happens between the lines. Boy, very sentimental Kevin Durant, huh? He's all about helping players. Yeah, it's not about his legacy. It's not about winning titles. Yeah, okay. You know, says here, after missing 23 games this season due to a hamstring injury, Durant returned to a standing ovation to like 5 people Wednesday night, coming off the bench for just the second time in his career and responding with 17 points on 5 for 5 shooting in the field in 19 minutes on a blowout victory against the New Orleans Pelicans. By the way, that's a stupid name, New Orleans Pelicans. I know the Pelicans is the bird of the state, but, you know, it could have been, how about the New Orleans Saints, like the football team, or the New Orleans, I don't know, New Orleans Jazz, like it used to be. Of course, you can't do that because the Utah Jazz. But something that makes more sense, you know, New Orleans Mardi Gras or something, I don't know. But anyway, oh, by the way, more words of wisdom from Kevin Durant on this Rachel Nicole interview. I think our experience with Team USA definitely helped. Durant said of the chemistry that is being developed among the 3 stars with him, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, the best of buddies, you know. Oh, wait, hold on 1 second. I'll be right back. And I'm back. Sorry about that. But back to his the words of wisdom of the great and caring Kevin Durant. When you're in an environment, I wouldn't say you have to shrink yourself, but you really have to check your ego and figure out when you need to use it. Yeah, like being the not only the star of the team, but the GM of the team and the head coach of the team. You might have to take a step back in order for the team to be good. You mean like sitting out and getting yourself nice and healthy for the playoffs? And I think we will all understand that. I love what we're building. Everybody brings their part to it. Everybody's valuable. And we're just trying to create something pretty cool for people to watch and for us to get the players to come play in. Please let me vomit now. Where's my barf bag? Give me a break. You came, you wanted to have your own team so you could be the man instead of being one of the guys, because you know Steph Curry was the man on the Warriors, and you were not, even though you were a huge contributor in the reason why they won those 2 titles, and especially to stop LeBron from winning a couple more titles with the Cavaliers. Let's be honest. He was a LeBron buster, Kevin Durant going to the Warriors, because the Warriors even knew that. That's why Curry was on his hands and knees begging Durant. I know we embarrassed you coming back 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals back in the 2016 season, but please come to our team. I'll let you be co-captain. Okay. And then Kevin Durant wanted to get also a couple of free titles because he was thinking about his legacy and people talking about him. And, of course, people were talking about him like yours truly, running to a team that was already assembled to win titles instead of being the man on the team and going to somewhere where people will come to him instead of going to another man's team. And he got tired of hearing those whispers and bullhorns from the crowd and from everybody else around the league. And he went to the Nets because he knew he could go to the Nets, could stand out, being not only be the man of the team, but control the whole franchise, be the star of the team, be the GM of the team, and be the coach of the team. Because that's like I said, Stephen Nash is just a figurehead. That's all he is, and that's all he ever will be as long as Kevin Durant is there. And he's the one that pulled made sure that James Harden was to come to the Nets. He's the reason why Kyrie Irving is here, his bosom buddy, coming to the Nets. Blake Griffin coming over there, and all these other guys who would be, maybe sweeping floors somewhere in a supermarket are now on the Brooklyn Nets. And it's a squad where it's like, well, how can they lose? It's basically a fantasy league team. That's why I'm telling you, I'm not a LeBron guy. But I'm going to tell you right now, if the Lakers face the Nets, I am rooting for the Lakers hard, big time. And I'm not even a LeBron guy. I will root for LeBron and Anthony Davis to whoop their butts. Oh, and it would be so sweet because, let's be honest, on the Lakers, besides Anthony Davis and LeBron James, it's regular above average players. It's not like they have a full, super team squad like the Nets do. They practically have a great player, almost above, even above average player or a great player in almost each position. But what I love if the Knicks would have beat them. Oh, with Thibodeau's Knicks, I would love it. I would love it. I would love it. That would be sweet. Where can I pay for that? Where can I sign for that? I would love that. But if I can't have that, which most likely, realistically, that won't happen, I would take a Lakers not only beating the Nets, but humiliate them. It would be great if they would sweep them or something. I would laugh all the way to bank. And I don't want to hear it from people in Brooklyn. Oh, but aren't you about New York? No, not when it comes to sports teams. The Nets, to me, are not New York team. They're not. And to me, if they're not one of my favorite teams I root for, they could be your New York team. They're not my New York team. I'm not about because they're playing in New York that I root for them automatically. Now, I don't hate the Mets, but it doesn't bother me if they don't win. And I think in the shadows, in the darkness, I think we have the one and only, the man himself, the man I call not only my co-host, but my brother, my friend, Evan Hollywood in his house. What's up,
bro?
What's up, man? How you be is?
It's been a crazy day.
That bad, huh?
What's going on with you?
Yeah, I was talking about Mr. Wonderful here, Kevin Durant. Mr. I'm about player
Oh,
development. Yeah,
good
you
old
know,
good old KD.
yeah. Did you hear about his interview with Rachel Nichols on Saturday? Mr.
Okay,
Wonderful, Mr. Wonderful himself.
I got a take on this. I definitely have a take on this because
Please share.
I I want to because of course this always somehow brings LeBron into it. When it's not even have nothing to do with LeBron, somehow or another, LeBron is always brought into it. Now they also brought Shannon Sharp into it somehow
Oh,
because
wow. Okay.
he so-called called out Shannon Sharp for misquoting him.
Okay.
And Kevin Durant said, I guess, in the interview that he's no longer driven by
Yeah.
championships. That's what he said, right? Okay.
Hmm.
Two things on that. One, it's easy to say that, bro, now that you have to. That's the first thing.
Exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
easy to say you're not driven by championships because you have two championships. And if you were never driven by championships, like Kevin Durant wants everyone to believe, and I agree with you, he's one of the biggest phonies in the NBA. And he just
Oh,
became that. Like he wasn't like that before.
yeah.
He was not like that
No.
before.
Actually,
And
nope.
when he first came into and when he was humble, with the now you're the real MVP and everything, he wasn't like that. So I
Mm.
don't know what happened to Kevin Durant, and I believe it happened once the media started pressing him about, all right, bro, you're 10 years in. When you gonna win a ring?
Yep.
Right. So that's when I believe he started getting annoyed. So he turned that way. If you were not concerned about championships, Kevin Durant, let me ask you a question. Why would you go to a team that was 73-9 and just beat you if you weren't concerned about championships?
Correct.
Why did you go to Golden State? Why did you just go to Brooklyn in the beginning? Why did
Yeah.
you go back home and play for the Wizards?
Bird.
Why did you return to OKC?
Exactly.
Why did you go? Why did you go anywhere else and play if you weren't concerned about championships? Why would you go to the Warriors, who already had a championship team, had just won 73-9, and should have won another ring if Steph Curry could hit one damn shot in the fourth quarter? And so Kevin Durant, to me, Kevin Durant is a fake. To me, he's a fake. So
Big
when
time.
he gets on Shannon Sharp and says, "Oh, your drunk uncle is lying on me again," because I never said if LeBron is the GOAT, I beat the GOAT 2 times. What does that make me? Well, first of all, that is what was quoted in a lot of news sources. So if Shannon Sharp sees that quoted, and Kevin Durant never came out any time before and said, "Hey, I didn't say this."
Mm-hmm.
That was almost 2 years ago. So if it wasn't true, why didn't you say this 2 years ago when it first got printed? Now that Shannon Sharp come out and say, "Oh, Kevin Durant said if LeBron's the GOAT, I just beat the GOAT twice." What does that make me? If you didn't say that, why didn't you come out back then and say you didn't say that? Because what probably happened was he probably said something. If he didn't say that, he probably said something very similar to that. So now he's just being petty because somebody called him out. That's the first thing.
Yep.
The second thing is KD started acting like this, right? Two things happened to make KD start acting like this. One, Skip Bayless called him out and said, Kevin Durant's not coming back to OKC. Now, one thing I'll give Skip Bayless credit for, he called that 3 years before it happened. He said, Kevin does not like playing with Russell Westbrook. And he said he cannot, he feels as though he can't win if this dude is his if this dude is the primary decision maker with the ball. He doesn't feel as though he can win. He got mad at Skip Bayless because Skip Bayless said that it was the truth. Then he got mad at Stephen A. when Stephen A. said, I've been talking to some people behind the scenes that some sort of Kevin Durant, and they said he isn't coming back. He dragged Stephen A. Smith. He dragged Stephen A. Smith and said, you don't know nobody, bro. You don't know nobody that I talk to. Stop saying you got sources. Then the nigga don't come back. So then he was right. He was right. He said you were not coming back. Sources told him Kevin Durant's not coming back to OKC next year. Kevin Durant said, didn't nobody tell you that? I haven't made my decision. Stop lying, saying you don't know nobody I know.
No,
he got mad at Stephen A. Smith. Yeah. And after that, that's when he stopped really talking to the media.
True.
That's when he really stopped talking to the media. After that. But then he made himself look dumb when he went and joined the 73-9 team. Now, granted, I'm not as down on KD joining the Warriors as everybody else because, for one thing, it's not like the Warriors won that previous year. The Warriors lost. Right? So now if the Warriors had a one, all right, if the Warriors had a one and KD went and joined the Warriors, then I can say, all right, that's, come on now.
That's overkill.
But let's just be honest. If KD went and joined the Cavs, people still would have complained.
True.
What if he would have joined the Cavs? The Cavs have just won. So now he says, I'm going to go play with LeBron. That would have been just as bad.
True.
People still would have complained. If he would have went the next year and said, okay, we just beat the Spurs, but I'm going to go and join Kawhi. They would have won too. So it would not have mattered. So if he would have went and joined Kawhi Leonard the next year with the Spurs, and the Spurs still had Tony Parker, Kawhi Leonard, Aldridge, and had all them people, the Spurs would have been in a championship.
Yep.
If he would have said, I'm going to go join Houston. I'm going to go join Chris Paul and James Harden in Houston. They would have won the West.
True.
So if he would have went to any team, he's that much of a factor. If he would have went to any team that was right on the cusp of beating the Warriors, let's be honest, the Houston Rockets should have beaten the Warriors Chris Paul's first year there. When they had Durant, they had the Warriors down 3-2 with game 6 and 7 in Houston. They should have won that year. But they did not. They lost. But if Kevin Durant was on the Houston Rockets that year, they would have beat Golden State.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's true.
I don't have a problem with him going to the Warriors. I could see if he went to the Warriors and averaged 14 points a game and was just like the third best player and just like rode the wave. Then I can see, okay, dude, you just came here to get a ring. He came to the Warriors, and let's be honest, without Kevin Durant, they were not going to ever beat LeBron James again.
I said that.
And that's a fact. That's a fact. But they would never, unless they would have gotten Kawhi Leonard, that would be the only equivalent. Kawhi Leonard, only because he plays so well against LeBron in the finals, and KD. If they would have got anybody else, LeBron would have beat them again the following year. Because he was already in there. He was already in their head. Number one, the year that they beat him, he didn't have Kyrie and Kevin Love, and it took him 6 games to do that.
That's correct.
That was the first time. The second year, they beat him that year. The second year, they had him down 3-1.
Choked.
With the and I don't want to hear, well, Draymond got suspended. That is not an excuse. You had the MVP.
That's right.
Yeah. They say, well, Curry was a little hurt.
Yeah.
But and I'm not going to give you that either, because the previous series against Portland, Curry scored 50, and he said, "I'm back, I'm back, I'm back." So if he's screaming, "I'm back," you can't then use the excuse the next series. Well, he was really banged up.
And especially when you came back from a 3-1, I'm sorry, when you came back from a 3-1 down to the Kevin Durant,
okay, to OKC. He was also down 3-1 the previous series. You know, and I could see if Steph came back and then got eliminated, then you could say, okay, he was hurt. Steph Curry in the postseason, until he got Kevin Durant, his postseasons were not great, right? His postseasons were not great until he got KD. Steph Curry, in that second year when they lost 3-1, he shot in the fourth quarter of games 5, 6, and 7. Now, mind you, he's up 3-1. Game 5 and 7 is in his building.
Yep.
In game 5, 6, and 7, in the fourth quarter, he shot 30% from the field and 29% from three-point land.
Ouch. Ouch.
In the closeout game, in his building, right? He shot 9 for 22 for the game, 1 for 8 in the fourth quarter, 1 for 7 from 3. You just can't do that if you're that nigga.
If you're the man.
That's what. And I love Steph. I love Steph.
Me too.
I love Steph. But if you're that guy, you can't do that.
Nope.
You cannot do that. And then when KD got hurt the year before last, and Clay got hurt, they have game 6. They have game 6 in Golden State.
Toronto.
At least they can push it to game 7. Steph Curry has a game tying 3. A makeable shot that he's been making all year.
Didn't do it.
He misses.
Yep.
So Steph, to me, even though he does these great things, and yes, he's a transitional player, he's a transcending player because he pretty much changed the way people play basketball. You know, it used to be, let's go get the guy that can jump the highest. And when you go out and you grab a ball, you run and try to dunk. Now you run to the three-point line. When playing basketball. When you're playing pickup ball, it used to be, let's go get the dude that can jump the highest. And there was only a few guys when we were playing that could dunk. We used to always try to get the guy that could dunk.
Yep, make it easy for yourself.
And everybody would run and everyone would run and try to dunk. Now, as soon as you go out there, you're running to the three-point line. Try to see who can shoot the furthest 3.
Practically playing horse.
That's because of Steph Curry. Right. That's because of Steph Curry.
Yeah, true.
So KD, back to him, I think it's a fake comment to say. To me, it's kind of like taking, I don't care about championships. I don't that's not what drives me. And bro, why are you playing?
Why you have a super team?
Why are you playing? And why did you, if that's not what drives you, then answer. Why did you go to the Warriors? You're gonna tell me if the Warriors, because they played basketball the way it should be played. Well, they learned that from the Spurs. Why did you go to the Spurs?
Word.
They got Greg Popovich.
And
they wanted Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did you go to the Spurs? You would have had you and Kawhi Leonard.
I think that would have been good.
I think he's a phony. Like I don't.
Big time. He's a big time phony. Oh, Heaven, we just lost Heaven for a second. But yeah, he's a big time phony. And he's full of crap. Like I said, if it wasn't about his legacy and it wasn't about winning championships, then why are you on the Brooklyn Nets with an all-star crew on your squad? And not only that, you run the show behind the scenes too. You're the ones that said, let's go get this guy, let's go get that guy. Let's make it a fraternity here in Brooklyn. And not only a fraternity, but a fraternity that wins. Oh, what is that word? That T word? No, actually, it's a C word. Actually, CT, 2 words. Championship titles. NBA championship titles. I didn't know that was the same as player development. I didn't know that. It just amazes me. It's like, just be honest. I just don't, just say, hey, I wanted to have my own team. I never got a chance to have my own team. I mean, I kind of did in OKC, but they weren't good enough at the time. Let's be real. Let's keep it real. At that time, OKC wasn't ready yet. But had he stayed with James Harden and Westbrook, they probably would have been that team. They would have been that team that would have run the gauntlet. But he decided to go because he got romanced by Steph Curry and everybody in the Bay. And he was like, well, cool. I could win a couple of titles, contribute at the same time. It won't be that third wheel. Actually be like kind of like the man. I'll be like the cold man in a sense. Win a couple of titles and then skedaddle. And that's what he did. He skedaddled. He got pissed off because of Draymond Green. They had that little beef. And he was like, look, I'm out of here. I'm not going to be listening to this guy. Because let's be honest, Kevin Durant can take type A personalities. If someone goes at him, like criticize him or whatever, he don't take that. He runs away from that. He's very, very thin-skinned. Very thin-skinned. Can you imagine, again, I hate to, I know it's my dude, but can you imagine Michael Jordan being like this? Oh, I can't take what what Pippen's been telling me in my ear, or Phil Jackson, the coach. I'm out of here. I'm gonna go to the Wizards. That'll be my own team. How? First of all, the Bulls was his team, and he was the man. And he told you straight up, he was about championships. And guess what? As much as I don't like LeBron, say all you want. Say all you want. But LeBron been straight up. He's about winning titles. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He said that. My beef with him is his personality sometimes off the court and his, inconsistency with his aggression. If he had that ruthless aggression all the time on the court, oh, forget it. No one would stop LeBron. Nobody. There's times nobody can stop LeBron even when he's not really fully aggressive. So you imagine a fully aggressive LeBron? Like that LeBron in that 2016 finals, when he basically carried that team. I know Kyrie Irving had that big shot. Don't get me wrong. I was one of those people that brought that up to make sure Kyrie Irving got that credit. To have that big shot down in the game, that game 7 against the Warriors, to make that big comeback against them, the first team to ever come back down 3-1 in NBA Finals. But LeBron was relentless. He was, relentless in those last 3 games. All it took was Draymond Green to do his stupid shenanigans that he did with LeBron, and it just sparked a fire. And it proved my point, what I've always said about LeBron. If LeBron was always, I'm going to get you no matter what cost, look out. Look out. And I've said it. If he would have had Michael Jordan's win at all cost personality, he would be better than Michael Jordan. He would be. LeBron would have been better than Michael Jordan. Some people say he still has that possibility to be better than Michael Jordan now if he wins another title. I'm not one of those people, but he's definitely one of the greatest players of all time. You can't take that away from him, no matter what. You can't. You just can't. He's almost, I don't know how close he is to being the #1 overall scorer in NBA history, but his stats speak for himself. He's definitely one of the greatest players, one of the biggest phenoms ever in NBA history, with his size and with his way he plays the game. It's just ridiculous. He's always consistent when it comes to his health. This year is the first time I can remember in a long time that LeBron's had a little blimp on the radar screen as far as being injured. But I'm telling you right now, the Nets have a long way to go before you're going to convince me they're going to beat the Lakers. They do. Because like I said, Durant hasn't played with Kyrie Irving, with James Harden all at the same time. Hasn't happened yet. And you mean to tell me with those fragile egos, with those three guys, when they want the ball most of the time, you think that's gonna be a consistent, positive on that? You think they're gonna win? Yeah, they probably win most games regular season, sure, but no problem. But let's see when the lights are as bright as in the playoffs, and then you have to show up. I don't know how many games are left in the season, but they have to start playing together. And then that's why Durant today, even though it was a 40-plus blowout against, I forgot what team it was today they faced, Durant was on there to make sure he was in game shape. That's why he was playing every single minute of the game, even was a big blowout. Although you were risking another injury again, but he wanted to make sure he could go all in 100%. But let's be honest, like I said last week, he's waiting to be nice and healthy. Now the next thing he would have to do is get that chemistry going with him, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and the rest of the crew, the All-Star crew, All-Star Juice crew. Juice crew, All-Stars. Oh, my goodness. If they get that going, then they could be unstoppable. But until proven then, I'm not one of these people that jump on the bandwagon, the flavor of the month where everyone says, oh, they're going to just run the table and win a title. It's going to be 1, 2, 3 done. Okay, we'll see about that. Do not count out LeBron, and especially when he has someone with the initials AD in the background, especially if Anthony Davis is 100%. So let's relax on that. Let's relax on that. By the way, you are watching the Benchwarmers podcast right here on the IE network. We come on here every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with yours truly, James Acevedo, and of course my host, Heaven Hollywood, sometimes my producer. Shout out to my producer out there, Wes Clark, who's working hard as always. Sometimes he chimes in every now and then, like he did last week, but also shout out to him. You can donate to the page right here on the IE network on YouTube with the super chat and that super sticker thing. And I wish I would have gotten Heaven's super chat. Super chat, the Cash App, so I can promote that. I think it's just Heaven Hollywood on his Cash App. Don't quote me. I wanted to make sure I put the right information out there. If you want to donate to Heaven Hollywood, you want to donate to myself, it's Jimmy Ace Cash. That's Jimmy Ace Cash on Cash App. And I don't know if Wes has a Cash App. I think he does, but I don't know what his exact Cash App is. So if he's on here, you please put that out there for a minute if you can. Make sure to promote that. And if Heaven, you can hear me, let me know what your Cash App is. Let me see. Thanks for everyone that's going to chat room. Oh, yeah. By the way, shout out to Joseph Tanner. Shout out to Reese out there. Hey, Reese, what's up? How you doing? Always holding it down for the IE network. And everybody else that's in here. Thank you so much for participating in the chat room in the show like you always do. We always appreciate your support. And let's see what else I got over here. What else I want to talk about? Oh, yeah. One of the other, I'm trying to think what other topic to talk about before I bid adieu, because I don't know if Heaven's coming back or not. But Arod and a New York City billionaire named Mark Lore are about to finalize a deal to buy the Minnesota Timberwolves from the owner, Glenn Taylor. If this finalizes, which it should, they won't start becoming owners until 2023. Very fascinating to me. I mean, I remember hearing this the other night coming out the blue in the wee hours in the morning, and I was like, A-Rod owning an NBA team? He's going to be co-owner, but I thought he would at least be a co-owner of a baseball team, just like Derek Jeter, because it seems like he follows what Derek Jeter does, and his ego can't get out of his own way just to sit back and just chill in the background. That's not A-Rod, By the way, there's nothing wrong with doing getting your own business, doing your own thing, but to really be out there and really trying to stroke your own ego. Well, I'm gonna own the Timberwolves. Why the Timberwolves? That's the only team in the NBA was up for sale, I guess. Why not a hockey team? Why haven't? Well, how about the Montreal Quebecs or whatever it is? How about owning them? How about soccer team? How about like in England, you gotta own a soccer team like the Red Sox do. A lot of people don't realize, but LeBron is I think a partial on the Red Sox, if I'm not mistaken, which is kind of weird. Makes me not want to like LeBron more when he did that. But it's just weird because obviously you didn't know that him and J-Lo, they were trying to buy the New York Mets, but that fell through. And I think a lot of Met fans, you know, I'm not speaking for them, but they went all together at the same time. Went, whew, dodge that bullet, boy. Just like Trevor Bauer, whew. Gladly to dodge that bullet. We got enough bullets in our chamber to shoot ourselves in the foot. What's been going on? But yeah, that's just we'll watch that closely because they won't own the team until 2023 in 2 years. So just weird. And I don't know who's this New York City billionaire, Mark Lore. Never heard of him. I don't know where he got his money from, but yeah, just weird that A-Rod's owning an NBA team. I think he's just doing that just to stroke his own ego. Like if it was a baseball team, I get it. Like I felt the same way LeBron owning a partial owner of the Red Sox. It's just weird. Why the Red Sox? Why not the Indians? I don't know. You know, I don't know. I thought you were representing the Indians. Remember when you were the Cavaliers, wearing the Indians jersey like the fraud that you are? Remember one time he was a Yankee fan. Remember he got booed in that 2007 playoffs against the Indians, and he was wearing a Yankee hat at Jacobs Field. But that was his true colors. He always stated he was a Yankee fan. And deep down, he probably still is. Oh well, to me, he's a front runner. What a shock! He was a Yankee fan. He likes the Cowboys, and you know he's a fan of Cowboys supposedly, and he doesn't really have a baseball team, but whatever. It's just ridiculous. Joseph Tanner in the chat room saying thanks for another great show tonight. Well, thank you. Thank you for participating and thank you for watching. It's people like you that makes it all possible. Absolutely. So, you know, without you, there's no us. So that's the way that is. And oh yeah, here's another thing. Before I bid adieu, this is going to be my stuff since Heaven is not. I guess ain't coming back on. You remember Empire Joe West? Which, by the way, I didn't know he was still in baseball. I thought he retired. He's one of the worst umpires in baseball history. He was awarded $500,000 in a defamation lawsuit against him from former Met Paul Lo Duca. Now, supposedly, Paul Lo Duca has claimed, allegedly, that Joe West would award. I'm trying. Let me go back to it. I think it would because it's all about the closer Billy Wagner that he would Paul Lo Duca was claiming that if he gave strike calls to Billy Wagner that he would drive Billy Wagner's 1957 Chevy or whatever, like a classic car, and you know, and of course Joe West, you know, was up in arms about this and was saying that this is not true. This is a lawsuit that actually been going on for a while. I had no idea this has been going on. You know, I think it's been going on for the last couple of years. I had no idea until I saw this the other day of him winning the lawsuit for $500,000. But it's funny how defamation of character, which by the way, his reputation as an umpire is terrible. He's the worst at calling balls and strikes and calling outs. You know, he gives out country CDs that he makes like country CDs. He gives it to players. Like, who wants to listen to your CDs? Who gives a crap? You know. Here we go. Let me read this real quick. I want to get the exact because if what I remember was correct. Paul Lo Duca claims that if he would have called strikes in favor of Billy Wagner when he would close out a game, that he would get a chance to drive Billy Wagner's car. Here we go. Let's see here. Okay, Westsu claimed Lo Duca said during the podcast. I guess okay, this was coming from a podcast Paul Lo Duca did in April 18. Oh, but practically 2 years ago, April 18, 2019, on the Action Network, wherever the heck that is, that he had been injected 15 times during his major league career, and 8 or 9 have been by Joe West. That Joe West ejected Paul Lo Duca at least 8 of those 15 times. And Westsu claimed also that during a game where Billy Wagner was pitching and Paul Lo Duca was the catcher. This around 2006 or 2007 against the Phillies, West called 3 straight batters out on strikes. The umpire added that Lo Duca claimed Wagner told him the reason he got the calls was the pitcher had allowed West to drive his 1957 Chevy. I call bullcrap on that because it wasn't because he was probably promised to drive his classic 1957 Chevy. It's because Joe West sucks as an umpire. And here's the funny part. You want to hear the funny part of this? Okay, I understand. You got a reputation. You don't want people to think that you take bribes. Whatever. I totally get that. No matter who I like or don't like, I totally understand that. If it's not true, by all means, fight for your reputation. But here's what Joe West wanted to say. And by the way, I've been explaining about this, and I understand even more for myself why he might be where he said he might be in the near future. The plaintiff, which is Joe West, expressed a legitimate concern that if Hall of Fame voters credit Paul Lo Duca's false assertion regarding his integrity and character, he might not be elected for induction into the Hall of Fame for the same reasons as otherwise excellent players like Shoeless Joe Jackson, Pete Rose, and Barry Bonds had or had not been elected. Are you kidding me? But I know it's about longevity, and he's been an umpire for like 30 plus years, but you shouldn't go to Hall of Fame because of that. Were you a great ball strike caller or not? Did you have integrity? Did you admit when you were wrong, which most umpires, including Joe West, don't do? Give me a break. By the way, I don't believe Paul Lo Duca's alleged accusation. I never believed it. So I don't blame Joe West for winning that lawsuit. I don't blame him for filing a lawsuit against Paul Lo Duca to claim that he called strikes for Billy Wagner because Billy Wagner promised him to let him drive his 1957 Chevy if in favor for Billy Wagner getting calls. Give me a break. No, Joe West just sucks at calling balls and strikes. That's what it is. And Paul Lo Duca has had a weird, ever since he's been off the field, he's had a questionable way of living. Certain decisions he's made. So it's just first of all, it's funny. He did Joe West. He debuted in 1960. I was 3 years old when he first umpired a game. So you do the math. That's 35 years. And what he's doing, the reason why he's still in baseball, and this is the real reason why he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's gonna try to break a record. The record is there's a record of the most games umpired by a certain umpire from a man named Bill Clean, which I have no idea who that is. Maybe if I see a picture of him, I know. The record is 5,370 games of umpiring games. So right now, Joe West is he's right now 5,000, actually including today's game, he's about 5,000. Right now he's on 5,346 games. So he's about another 10, 20, another 24, so 25 games of breaking that record. So he'll definitely do it during the season. So once he says here, Joe West, once he breaks that record of umpiring the most games in baseball history, that's when he'll retire. But to me, you shouldn't go in the Hall of Fame just because you've umpired the most games. Were you great at also calling balls and strikes? The answer is no. So I find that's funny. And to end on a somber note, which I hate to do, but I have to report this. Andy Reid's, the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. Anybody remembers? We briefly talked about that about a month or 2 months ago about Andy Reid's son getting into a DUI accident the night before the Super Bowl, during the Super Bowl weekend that really injured big time a 5-year-old girl that was in a car that he hit, and the girl's permanently brain damaged, and he's going to get big time lawsuits. Well, he was actually charged with DUI for that car crash. So it's just a terrible thing that happened, in all seriousness. And I feel for the girl's family, and I feel for also Andy Reid for going through this. I remember him losing a son a few years ago to drugs, and now he's going to lose a son, and that's probably going to go to jail for who knows how many years, if he's convicted, which he probably will be. So that's just terrible. And my thoughts and prayers to the girl almost died. So I think there was another kid that was really injured too, but it's a miracle that the 5-year-old girl survived because the car crash was horrific. So, but she has permanent brain damage, and she's gonna need, you know, medical care for the rest of her life. She's gonna need help to just live. So, yeah, it's terrible. So I feel my heart goes out to the little girl's family and the little girl, and feel bad for Andy Reid too. I don't feel bad for Andy Reid's son because he was the idiot for whatever reason. He thought it was okay to drunk while under the influence of alcohol, or I don't know if it was alcohol or drugs, but it's just terrible. So that's just terrible. But you know, I had to add that to the show and to put that out there before, and in case anybody didn't know about that. So that's all I have to say about that. So I guess we'll end the show a little early. Well, just a few minutes early. It's 9:21, so it's just about close to the hour-and-a-half range. So I want to thank all of y'all for watching the Benchwarmers podcast exclusively here on the IE Network on YouTube. Please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, not only to this show, but also to these other great shows that we have on here. We have Real Talk, by the way, Real Talk right there with the director, who, by the way, is the producer of my show. The director, here's a great promo right here. Boy, I look like I'm pregnant in this picture. The Real Talk, it's called Real Talk, that comes on here every Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the director, Wes Clark, and his Jedi Council, Ralph and Wes, and sometimes AJ comes on here too. He's in the filming business. It's a great show. Definitely check it out. You can check out all the shows anytime, even though if you miss it live, Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, exclusively here on the IE Network. You got my homeboy here, my brother, my co-host right here on the Benchwarmers podcast, Heaven Hollywood. He does a Heaven Hollywood experience right on here. He does it about once a week on here on the weekends for the most part. That's awesome. You talk about dropping tea and, you know, keeping it real, what's been going on behind the scenes entertainment business. He's the man to go to. It's Heaven Hollywood. You know, don't go to TMZ. Go to Heaven Hollywood. I'm telling you right now. So, you know, credit Heaven Hollywood and credit G, you know, from In Case You Didn't Know, who sponsors the Heaven Hollywood experience, by the way. So shout out to her too. And so that comes on. That usually comes on the weekends for the most part. Sometimes Sunday night, sometimes Saturday night. It all depends. And sometimes also Heaven uploads what's going on, what's being talked about in the entertainment behind the scenes. That sometimes he uploads that every day or every other day. And also he does YouTube lives on here too, like he does on his IG page. So definitely worth checking out. I'm telling you right now, you don't want to miss any of that. And also don't miss Block TV right here with Lex Caldron on here on the IE Network. She does a fantastic job once a week covering what's going around, also the entertainment tea and what's going on in the world of entertainment. She does an outstanding job. So shout out to Lex Caldron. Shout out to you. Hopefully I pronounced that last name right. You think a Puerto Rican would know how to pronounce that last name right, huh? I'm gonna get better on that. So shout out to Lex, and shout out to all you for listening and watching on this channel. Without you, this channel wouldn't exist. So please, like I said, like, comment, subscribe this channel. You know, and share it with your friends. And like I said, every Tuesday night, right on here in the IE Network on YouTube, is the Benchwarmers podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday night. So don't miss it, or you'll miss a lot. Trust me. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. And until next week, have a great week for Heaven Hollywood and for Wes Clark. I'm the man himself, James Acevedo. And as I go into the IE Network horizon, I say this to all y'all. Have a good rest of the week. Enjoy your weekend. And I also say this to all y'all, in case you don't know by now, when I end the show. Latest. and tomatoes. Peace.